So we got a recording here. So we got our Q&A today. And there's not a lot of questions directly today, but several throughout the week that I caught on to. And one of them comes from Rosalind, which reminds me of President Rosalind out of Battlestar Galactica. She had made a comment on a post I had made about fostering or deprogramming ourselves from the abuse. Because in narcissistic abuse, we're conditioned to respond a certain way, and that comes in through mental programming. One of those programs is to constantly focus on the other person. What do they feel? What do they want? What do they need? Whereas a healthy person and someone who's not in that kind of dynamic is reversed on that. They're going, well, what do I want? How does this work for me? What are my boundaries here? How do I feel about this? That's, one aspect of deprogramming. The other component of deprogramming is getting out of the buzzed, numb state that comes in when we're dealing with narcissists in our lives, because it triggers our brain to go into a fog, and then we just kind of go with them. And that's because we've been hit repeatedly in an emotional and psychological fashion by their verbal abuse, or sometimes even physical or emotional abuse. And that gets the brain back into that state of freeze, because that buzz is freeze. We're like, oh, we're going to die, so play dead. And then we go into what's called fawning, and that allows us to survive it. We've got to get out of that. A couple of the ways I do that is inspiring curiosity, getting back into the present moment and going, is this what's going on for me? How do I feel about it? What's happening for me? And she had made a comment, Rosalind had made a comment about the fear. And the comment is, the only thing I question is your run towards fear. Isn't fear in adults a conditioned response to past experiences or circumstances that lead us to protect ourselves? Why run towards fear? Fear is a conditioned response in some of us. And then there's natural fear. Some of us have an organic fear towards heights. Some of us have an organic fear towards dogs. Not necessarily because of a traumatic event, but because we don't like them, or that's just unsafe for us. Fear isn't a reason, though, to do a thing or not do a thing, and that's the point. Your fear, as a conditioned response, can actually work against you and your happiness. It can tell you to walk away from a healthy relationship because you're scared of being exposed. It can tell you to cut off somebody's love because you think love, or you've experienced love, as something dangerous. So your fear isn't a valid reason not to do something. Your fear is a reason to stop and inspect it and understand the difference between danger and fear. And that's why I like to have people run towards their fear, because then they're able to face the circumstance and they're able to gain wisdom from it. They're able to understand what's really happening. Because danger is about circumstance. It's about a situation that's happening. It's material, it's real, and it's present. Fear is about something that we think might be happening. It's up here in our head. It's completely mental. And it's usually about a what if. Something in the future is going to happen to us. And so living in that state of prediction, which is something we chronically do, basically allows the future, the past to control the future rather, and paint it. And if we're going to just believe that our fear is true and real every time, then we will always recycle our patterns. We will end up in the same kind of dysfunction that we're trying to escape, because we're not resolving the real issue. And the real issue is it deals with probably love and being seen, because those are our two biggest pain points often with codependency is, am I loved? Can I trust this person? And does it feel safe to be loved? Is there any, do we feel shame for being loved or for loving someone else? I mean, if we're feeling fear about being loved or loving someone, we've got all that shame in there, all that guilt in there. And if we agree with the fear, then we never get access to that. So yeah, that's why we run towards our fear. We run towards it to understand it so we can dismantle it and see if it's legitimate. Because if there's an actual danger in front of us, that's different. If the house is on fire, get out of the house. If you're dealing with someone who is triggering narcissistic red flags in your head, like they're gaslighting you, they're questioning you, they're omni-focused on themselves, they're grandiose in their thinking, their lack of empathy towards you or towards other individuals, or they're love bombing you. They're telling you you're the best thing since sliced bread. You're the person I've been looking for all my life. That kind of bullshit. That's present danger. Your brain's going, this is an issue. That's where you want to tune in and go, yeah, this is a valid fear. This is a valid danger, so now I can get out of it. So that's why we need to run towards our fear, because our fears aren't always rational and our fears aren't always right or the truth. So there's that. I asked a lot. Let's see. There was another one and my brain lost it. Let me see if I can find it here. Damn, what was that? Come on, brain. I should have written it down. But yeah, running from fear, and then like one of the members, Cynthia, she had an issue with her ex-narc wanting to go to counseling. Therapy and narcissists, they're a toxic combination, because a narcissist uses therapy to attack the other people in the group. And because therapy requires vulnerability, it gives ammunition to the narcissist to use against those family members. It also, the narcissist is going to work to make the therapist their ally and turn the therapist against the other members in the group. This shows up as them trying to control circumstances, control the dialogue. If something is put onto them, they're automatically going to blame it on somebody else. They're going to deflect responsibility. They're going to play in the victim role chronically. They're always a victim. I mean, haven't you noticed that narcissists are perpetually victims of everything? I mean, it's like the world, the universe, they think revolves around them, and then apparently it revolves around them to the extent that everything happens to them, kind of thing. So, yeah, therapy and a narcissist, I don't recommend doing it. It's going to work against you unless you have an extremely qualified therapist, and that's extremely rare. And typically, therapists don't catch on to the narcissism of the other individual for a while, because they're not privy to the patterns, and it's not actually a safe place for the victim to talk about those patterns, because they're going to get attacked later on for what they put on the table. So yeah, therapy doesn't function that way. If you're going to go with therapy, go with a private therapist that your narcissistic partner does not know about, number one. And number two, is specialized in narcissistic recovery, abuse recovery. So I highly recommend that. Let's see. And then, I wanted to focus on worth, what it means to value ourselves, because this is a topic we've discussed a bit in the past, but it's one of the central ones, because my angle with codependency and narcissistic abuse, childhood emotional neglect, is that it is a wound to our sense of love. Our love has a couple of dimensions to it. Being lovable, one, am I lovable? And then two, do other people want my love? Or is my love toxic or disgusting or shameful? And these two interplay to give us an experience of our own sense of worth. Because worth is really a product of our relationship to our own lovability and being loved. So being, love in total. If I've been loved and I feel lovable, I'm going to feel worthy for whatever it is I want or desire. That's where genuine confidence comes from. But if I have that shame about my love, or I feel unlovable, why would somebody love me? I'm not lovable. Or why would somebody want my love? Because that's shameful or disgusting. Then we're going to have a very, very low sense of worth. And this kind of posits the thing I'm trying to point at is that worth is not something we earn, and it's not something we display. It's not a credential. I went to college, got my degree kind of worth, or my net worth, my bank account or the car or whatever. The worth we're talking about is an emotional experience. Everything we're really going for here is emotionally driven. It's what we feel. So it's not necessarily what we think, and it's not material. It's here within our heart, and it's immaterial. It's nonverbal. It's felt sense. And so when I talk about love, am I feeling a radiating love towards someone or towards myself or towards both or in general? If I'm not, then what am I got there? And then I need to bring love into that space. Love really is one of our most powerful healing tools out there, but it's also one of the scariest things we have to deal with in recovery, because love was weaponized. The concept of attachment is very, very dangerous to us because it was used to control us and to wound us. And so healing our relationship to loving others and then healing our relationship to being lovable and loving ourselves is essential to building a strong, solid, resilient sense of self-worth. And so that all starts with dealing with the shame. Shame and love are like the antithesis. They're let's see if I can find an example. Shame is the alien queen and Ripley is love. They're opposites. They're going to clash. And so we've got to face our shame and share it. Shame dissolves in the light of someone else's empathy. Brene Brown talks about that extensively, and most of her material with braving, and then God, today I can't recall things. Other books she's written, like The Gift of Imperfection and things like that. Nurturing our shame, putting it out on the table with trusted people or people who have at least displayed trustworthy actions, letting ourselves be seen. That's kind of why I ask the questions I do in our group, is because it gets us seen in a safe way. Now we see we're not alone. Once we know we're not alone, all the shame just kind of goes away. We're like, oh, somebody else went through this too. I'm okay. And that gives us a chance to feel loved, to feel seen, to feel like we belong, because we deserve to have those needs met. And we deserve to know that we belong, to feel it and to experience it. We're not selfish for having those needs. They just went unmet for so very long that they've, influenced and manipulated our world, our adult life in such a way that people have attacked or shamed us over it. So now we get to heal. We get to thrive beyond those things. So that was my message for today, guys. Let me know if you have any other questions. Just post them in the group. Otherwise, I'll see you guys next week. Thank you. Bye-bye. So let's